Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description. Check it out.
And hit us with some comments. Tell us what you think about this. One of the big stories of the week when free agency begins, it's not just how big will the Raiders go. I think a part of it, too, is how quickly will they strike. We've talked about before, previously on this show, that Jon Gruden has taken some big swings in free agency already. Not many of them have worked out. That's not going to stop him from doing it again. They've got to be good. We thought they had to be good for their first year in Vegas. Now they're going to have to be good for the first year in Vegas with fans. Plus, I mean, it's time to go to the playoffs, John. It's time to make moves. So I do wonder not just who will they sign, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders are the first or the second or third team to do something big this week.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders have over $40 million in cap space. They created a ton of cap space by cutting all these guys, right? Gabe Jackson, they traded Trent Brown, Terrell Williams, LaMarcus Joyner, Richie Incognito. Well, I got to give Richie some credit. Came to the Raiders, pretty low-key, was fine, much more smoothly than I think anyone expected when I'll never forget the Raiders have signed Richie Incognito. It was just that it does – this kind of sums up what we're talking about with Gruden, right? His tenure is littered with Richie Incognito, who, in fairness to Richie, had a good little run, very low-key. AB, right? Just doing things that are like, what? Giving all this money to Trent Brown, who was a really talented player, but was like, God, no one wanted to pay him that much money. Why should you, John? And then it was a disaster. I think he played in – I heard someone say this. I should have checked. Played in half of his games as a Raider. Played in 16 out of the 32 games. It was a disaster. I expect Jon Gruden, and I mean, Mayock is part of it, but John's the boss, to do some crazy shit in the next 2 or 3 days.
Played in 14 games.
4 out of the 32.
12 and then 2, yeah.
So not ideal, guy. I think the craziest part about John is he's liable to do anything. And when we talk about, like, waiting for some of the tweets about the Niners, like, I have a pretty good idea. Maybe there's something out of left field, like if Trent Brown were to leave. But like if a quarterback situation happens, something is going to a domino is going to have to happen for Jimmy to the trade. Nothing will shock me with the Raiders. If you tell me that Russell Wilson traded to the Raiders this week, I would believe you. If you tell me that they give the highest amount of money ever to a defensive lineman, I guess it'd be hard to, like, would they give Khalil Mack money to Yannick Ngakoue? Probably not. But just an outrageous amount to a guy like that, I would believe you. If they tell me that they just do a crazy trade, I would believe you. If you tell me they trade their first round pick for like I don't even know who this player would be, but like a Jalen Ramsey, Jamal Adams type, I think that's believable, right? If, a veteran guy that you could have, I don't even know if that player really feels available, but it's on the table. Like, let's say they traded for like Eric Kendricks of Minnesota. I'm not saying Minnesota would trade him, but just Bobby Wagner, whoever. He's just a great curveball. I mean, he's Clayton Kershaw right now. 12-6, Barry Zito in his prime. At any moment, you're like, damn, didn't see that coming. Even though then you read it like, of course John did this. And it doesn't just encompass good players, right? They could just trade for, I'm just using random names. I'm not saying this guy's even, Bobby Wagner to be the middle linebacker. But he could also trade for like, what? You did what? That's where John comes in. I'd say his tenure so far with the Raiders has been pretty consistent with craziness, right? And things you didn't expect to happen. And even with the Cleveland Farrells of the world or Damon Arnett. Remember when Damon Arnett was drafted? People were like, who? It was pretty shocking. And we talk a lot about the draft. Now, I used to work in the league. I don't pretend to know about 3rd, 4th round picks. I got a pretty good feel about the group of guys going in the first round. And John now a couple times, Cleveland out of nowhere. No one thought he was going to go 4. And the Arnett, he wasn't a name that we had heard. Now, that doesn't mean these guys aren't going to be good players or whatever, but in Arnett, I'm giving a little bit of a pass. I actually kind of impressed with him.
Yeah, the issue with him was people just didn't expect him to be drafted where he was drafted.
Cleveland, clearly, if you redo that, no chance on God's green earth he goes 4, right?
But what you make me think is he going to sign somebody that you don't even feel like is at a position? You're saying this, but would he end up with is he going to sign a receiver? Like, is Nelson Aguilar going to come back for a big number, or will he go and they end up with,
Or would he trade a second-round pick for Allen Robinson?
Yeah,
let's say Allen Robinson.
That's a good one. I got to think they'll end up with somebody. Here's one prediction, right? They'll end up with somebody who's a big name who hasn't really performed, but Mayock and Gruden liked 3 years ago, right? Like that's
They
happening.
did it with Mariota last year, right?
Yeah.
What was their thought process on Mariota? I remember Mike Mayock specifically said, he said, the difference between me and John and every other head coach and GM in this league, you know for a fact what we thought about this guy.
Right.
And they gave him a lot of money. And now, as of recording this, you know where Marcus Mariota is? Still on the Raiders.
Still on their team.
I don't think is it fair to say that his trade value has probably not been quite what they thought? That no one's trading for him at that number?
Mm-hmm.
And me and you disagreed a little bit. I thought at 10, and you always thought that might have been a little much. I think the league is basically saying they don't think he's a $10 million player, right?
Yeah. No, I thought that it would be a little easier to trade him than it has been, even though you're right. I do agree with you, and I would have agreed then that he's not a $10 million
I'm saying
player.
that I thought it was going to be easier. You were kind of down. I remember you thinking that he wasn't like just that one game. What do you really make of it? His body of work. I think the league, that's basically what they're saying. Like, yeah, his one game out the bench, okay, but we have 3 or 4 years of film that I don't feel comfortable just naming this guy our starting quarterback, right?
I guess what I'm remembering is eventually, maybe it was a different conversation. You said, don't be shocked if this guy has to get cut in the end because there's not actually a market for him, and teams kind of know that there's.
Doesn't it feel like he's trending toward getting cut, not traded, as of right now?
Where did yes, it does. William Jackson. Where did he get drafted? Like, was he in like the teens?
The dude, the
Early 20s?
Bengals first round pick? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like,
I'm
teens?
just checking old Mayock. He's a free agent. I'm checking old Mayock draft. Mayock had him going at the end of the first round, so he actually went a little higher than Mayock had him. Just trying to find some matches. But to me, that would like something like that, right?
Yeah, what I think is possible that
Bud Dupree.
They trade for a franchise player, right? They give the second round pick. Like Allen Robinson would be a guy. Like I could see John like, give me Allen Robinson, Ruggs, and Waller, right? And see what I can do, man.
Well, for sure.
With Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, but you're still gonna have to. They're still gonna sign guys.
Like, have you seen our defense? Well, that's what I'm saying. I think they trade for him and sign him. I'm not saying they do it. It almost feels like too easy to think that Richard's just going to end up there, but it kind of feels like he ends up there for like $10 million.
Playing on their real live grass surface.
Grass.
Yep. So
one thing though about this next week, there are really 2 times a season where you can really improve your team: the draft and obviously free agency. Because even like the Raiders, they went 8-8. So when the big cuts happen, their waiver claim for all the sweet guys, most of the guys get claimed before the Raiders ever get a hold of them. So you don't really improve your team if you're not like a 3 or 4 win team during that period of time. These are the 2 times. And the last couple of years, the reason the Raiders have not been able to sniff the playoffs because they've screwed up these 2 times, right? Because especially with they allocating a lot of resources toward just a couple players, and they've had high picks. Cleveland Farrell did not become what they were hoping he'd become at pick 4. Those guys that we listed, the Trent Browns, the Joiners, that obviously AB, but I don't even count him. Terrell Williams did not, ultimately become what they thought they were worth when they gave him all that money. They're going to give out money this next week, right? Mark's going to want to win. They're going to have fans next year. John has kind of become a laughingstock in the league. He was aggressive before he really had this pressure of trying to prove it to everyone. I think now it's like watching the golf tournament today. Early on, Justin Thomas couldn't make a putt, and Paul Azinger was like, sometimes you just want it so bad. And you're just missing these putts, and you're getting angry over the ball, and it's hard to play that way. I just wonder, Jon Gruden wakes up, right? FFA, fired football coaches, FFCA or whatever. He was like that when he didn't have a job. He was like that when he showed up. 3 years later, not even close to the playoffs. This year ending getting his ass kicked by some teams that, the Colts game, losing that the Falcons. Like, it did not end well. How much pressure is he putting on himself this week, and is that pressure going to lead to a bad signing?
It's a good question. But, I mean, we've had bad signings without that pressure.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that's why I wonder, think the Raiders are more liable to do something.
It's true. I do wonder if specifically Gus Bradley, like they had to go hire him, right? Now, huh?
I mean, I'm sure he got a lot of money to come to the Raiders.
I'm just saying, like, I wonder if it's like, all right, I wonder if Gus is like, all right, we're getting Melvin Ingram. John, this is who we need to get, right? I want Melvin Ingram. That's my guy. I wonder if is it possible they have a little more of a purpose to who they signed defensively? Although you'd argue they've had a purpose before. Like Littleton, there was a purpose to that signing.
Yeah, I think everything made logical sense. The moves they've made, it just didn't work. They picked the wrong player.
Mayock
Right?
had Tack McKinley about 10 spots higher than he got drafted in his 2017 mock.
I think Tag McKinley stinks.
I'm just trying to find guys that they once liked. That's all.
Yeah.
That's that
See,
exercise.
I'm not even necessarily looking just on the free agents. I'm thinking franchise tag guys, and all of a sudden they trade for someone. Like
I think
the
it's
Raiders have given pick 19 or wherever the fuck they're drafting at 8-8 for so and so, because what's he thinking? We are a player or two away from being a 10-win team with this offense, right? Like if Jalen Ramsey was on the market right now, I would say the Raiders would offer 2 1s and a 2, right?
Yeah.
Or they would be in the mix for if Jamal Adams, what defense is he in? Seattle's defense. If Jamal Adams, this was the year he's getting traded, I'd be like, it makes a lot of sense with the Raiders. Now that player hasn't really emerged. That's why I just threw some random linebackers out, and I'm not saying either one of those guys, but it always happens. Like Diggs got traded last year at this time. Like, does it? Well, now again, Diggs, that had been leading up to that. It does just feel like it's kind of quiet on the trade front with star players. You never know, guy, because what happens when you trade a star player? You gain a lot of cap room for that.
Did they trade a 4th for Zach Ertz?
See, that's why would they don't need another tight end?
I know they don't.
What are you fucking offense?
But they might like him.
Yeah, you got to find Zach Ertz of defense. That's what they got.
I understand. I know. I'm just saying. Yeah,
but that's the problem. I think John's like, hell yeah. You think Jon Gruden wants Zach Ertz? 100%.
Okay.
That to me is what he's going to end up doing, and that's where I'm saying, like, all of a sudden it's like, well, they signed a guard, they got Zach Ertz, and they traded for, Allen Robinson. It's like, well, their defense still stinks.
No, they're getting Melvin Ingram and Richard Sherman.
Well, but one of my buddies in the league that's a pro scout said he thought he looked washed last year. He just looked old.
Okay, so maybe Gus Bradley doesn't like him. I'm just saying, I think you're going to end up with somebody. You're going to end up with a big name whose stock is a little down.
Well, they're getting minimum. They're getting a guy that's been a Pro Bowler 5 times 3 years ago, right? That's a lock. I mean, they paid Jordy Nelson. They got Jason Witten. Like, we're not even making fun of John. Like, that's just what he does, right? Something he feels very comfortable with that guy around.
Who was the tight end? Decker? Eric Decker?
Did he sign him?
Remember, didn't he get him for like a minute? Wasn't he a Raider for a second? Or did we
Eric Decker?
I thought there was like, oh, Eric Decker, this is such a Raiders signing.
No, I think that was Jordy Nelson.
Yeah, well, there's Jordy. I'm not getting my white guys confused. You're accusing me, but maybe I don't see him anywhere. Maybe it was just a conversation we had constantly about he would.
I think
sign
he was long
Decker.
gone. Witten, Jordy.
Yeah, I guess
I feel like we're missing a pretty famous over the hill guy. I mean, Richie. He's had his fair share in a short period of time. He had a running back. Didn't he sign a running back that was old? He signed some old guys. I mean, it's.
Maybe somebody can tell me why. I still feel like
Eric
even
Decker's
though I've
wide
been proven
receiver,
wrong.
married to the country chick.
No, I know
right?
who he is. And obviously I've been proven wrong. But maybe somebody can tell me why I think that. I feel like there's something there. But
I thought they signed like an MJD type running back like 2 years ago, and he was terrible immediately, and they just cut bait. You remember that? Not MJD, obviously. I mean, who was a Raider, but they signed a famous running back within the last couple years, and he was not good. It wasn't Marshawn.
Did he end up in a game? Doug Martin.
Yeah, Doug Martin. Like, Jon Gruden's a lock to do a couple of these names. Witten and Jordy are a higher level Doug Martin. Like, to me, he's got a Jordy Witten in him for sure. But that might not cost that much. In fact, right. Jordy actually, I think, got like $10 million. Actually had like 68 catches. He just couldn't move.
It feels like a lifetime ago Jordy Nelson was on the Raiders.
Jason Witten actually kind of played, right?
Hell yeah, he did.
It wasn't like, Jason's just there to be a coach. Like, he's out there, they're running plays for him in the red
He's some big catches.
Yeah. I like Jason Witten. He just told